Because I don't see it recording. Okay, now it's recording. Okay, you could always chop this off too. So just go ahead, go into it.
All right, so we're here with another edition of the Concrete and Steel Chronicles. Today, I'm interviewing a brother that you may be familiar with. He has his own YouTube channel that's creating a lot of Dirty Weather Now 1-6. So, brother Young Dirt, um, we're gonna get right into it. So, can you kind of tell the people, who you are, you know, what years you was in the
Sure, man.
CDC and for how long, any affiliation you
Sure,
want to talk about?
sure. So first of all, I'm Dirty Weather 916. If y'all don't know, I got my YouTube channel that's doing good. I gained notoriety or whatever you want to call it from, like, I was on Divorce Court, I was on Steve Wilco, and I was on a show called Big Hurt that kind of caters to like the prison world. And what led me to Big Hurt is, I did 17 years straight for a robbery, chasing a rap dream or whatever when I was younger. But that led me to Big Hurt, and then from then on, I figured that for well, basically, if there's one thing good, one thing that like better than anything else, and for me that was prison. So I figure if I'm gonna make something better and be able to help people, then the best thing to do is like do what you do best, and that's what that was. That was prison and talking about it, and then I realized it's a bonus because I can at the same time help people too.
Yeah, that's what's up. What's up? Okay, so you said you did 17 years straight. Now, was that at one facility or they move you around? And what level facilities were you on?
They moved me around, but like the first facility I was in, I was there for 8 years, and that was a level 4 facility. That was Salinas Valley. So like when I first came, like you have to go through a reception process, and after the reception, I think I was in reception for about like 30 something days. Now people stay in reception for like up to 6 months, 4 or 5, 6 months. But back then, 30 some days, 40 some days, and you up out of there. And I hit my first prison. Now I did bounce around on a lot of different yards in that prison, but for the most part, I was in Salinas Valley from 1998 all the way to 2005.
Okay, okay. Now, let me ask you this. In California, how do the inmates group themselves? Is it by like your neighborhood, your gang affiliation? Is it by race? How does that all break down in the Cali system?
Well, it's like a bullseye. Like imagine a bullseye, and you
Okay.
got different groups. Like they're all one group, but they break down into smaller groups. Like we'll take Sacramento. Sacramento, we're all black. Remember, we're all black. Everybody's black, but you have the Sacramento car. Then you got the Stockton car. Then you have the LA car. You have the Bakersfield car, the IE car, the Dago car. Everything breaks down into a car. And then inside that car, you have like cliques inside of cliques too. But for the most part, if you walked on a yard, you wouldn't see all the blacks together. You would see all the blacks in their respective groups.
So now, so say if you're a blood from Sacramento, are you free to walk over to the blood car from Bakersfield or to a Crip area, or is that a no because it's still black?
Actually, yeah. See, what it is when I first came to prison, that was encouraged. Like, go to the fuck with we go mess with the Dago homies, or I'm going over there with the LA homies, or they would come over and mess with us. And in some yards, we were all together. Some we were all together, but yeah. Now, some people that's cool like that can go over to the Crip area and holler at their Crip partners too. Like I used to
Mhm.
have partners, I would go over there and play chess with them, or they might have the dice game over there or something, and I go over there. But not everybody can do that. But as far as
Okay.
like blood, like a Sacramento blood, yeah, Sacramento blood will go over to the LA because that's our right. Just like
Okay.
it's their right to come over to the Sacramento area because that's where bloods are. So they can come over there if they want to. Now, as far as feeling welcome, that's all on the individual. Like if you have friends that are LA Bloods, or I mean homies that are LA Bloods already that you got ties with, yeah, you're gonna go over there all the time. But if you have no business over there, you just going to post up, you can do that too. but make sure you announce yourself like who you are and who you know. Basically, like if I'm going over there and it's a bunch of LA Bloods and they've never seen me before, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna introduce myself to everyone. I'm Young Dirt from Del Paso Heights Bloods. Young Dirt from Del Paso. I'm gonna greet every last blood and then I'm gonna sit down.
Okay, okay, all right. Now, as far as the races, like now, how does that break down? Do the races interact? The different races, do they interact with each other at all, or is that like off
Um,
limits?
Now it's not necessarily off limits, but the things that we can interact with other races for are kind of limited. Like, of course, like there be drug dealings in between races. We don't play sports with each other like that unless you're on like a lower level, like a level 1 or maybe a 2. Then you might see like blacks playing sports with whites or something like that. But on the higher levels, that's just not something you're gonna see because it can get ugly real fast. And like if you say we're playing softball against the whites, it's automatically known that that baseball bat is about to become a weapon. And everything on that yard is gonna become a weapon. And you would hate to crash a car and a race behind some sports. So they just refrain from it. Like you wouldn't see the Southsiders playing a basketball tournament against blacks. You just wouldn't see that.
All right, all right. Now, in your time in, like how many? I know you've written a lot of violence, but how many riots would you say you witnessed or been involved in your 17 years?
As far as riots, I would say by the time I left Salinas Valley, I had been in I had been in 2 riots, only 2, and I witnessed about probably a total of 5 or 6. And then by the time when I hit Solano, I had been in or had witnessed like 5 or 6 riots in like less than a year. So I
Wow.
basically so level 3s were kind of more active than the level 4s I was in
Okay.
because the level 3s is less restricted and you have more access to things. I remember I was in somebody's cell. I kept my neighbors. I kept hearing that like the music that they had was shaking the whole building. So one day we went in the cell and this dude had the preamp equalizer with the big old with the whole house. I mean, studio speaker inside his cell. And I had seen this coming straight from a level 4 where they don't have nothing like that. He was like, "Man, this is nothing," and pulled out an X-Acto knife. You know what an X-Acto knife is? That
Yeah.
little sharp. He had an X-Acto knife in the cell. I was like, "Wow, you're not gonna see this on no 4 yard." So it's all about where you at.
Mhm. Now, primarily, who were the riots between?
Uh, Primarily rice. Like it depends where you're at, cause it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Like say you're in Northern California, like around Folsom. Folsom, the numbers are even. So the most likely, if it's a riot in Old Folsom, it will probably be the blacks and the Mexicans, or the white and the Mexicans, or something like that, because they go at it with each other too.
Okay.
Or sometimes it might be a blood and crip, but you ain't. You one thing you don't really see a whole lot of is blood and crip riots like in California because that's frowned on. Because there's a lot of things that you can do with each other as a race before it comes to that point. So you don't see a lot of black on black riots like that.
All right. All right. Now, something that's been kind of that I've been curious about, because myself, I've researched prison for years, even before it became popular. People used to laugh at me about it. But
Yeah.
I often hear when people are telling stories, like blacks are often on the losing end when it comes to Mexicans. I'm sure it's for various reasons that Mexicans are more organized, that sometimes there's more numbers. But in your years, how well would you say that the brothers did against the Mexicans? I know you even spoke about an attack you had
Yeah.
with the South Side.
Um, for the most part, like whenever we get into it with the Southsiders, off top is bloody. Off top. And it comes down to what it was over and who took off first. A lot of times when the Southsiders take off, like we call take off, like when they attack, a lot of times when they take off, like it's unexpected. Like you won't see it. Now, if the blacks know it's coming, if the blacks know it's coming or they're on the upper end, oh, it's yeah. I mean, it's really it's two blacks. I mean, it's two Mexicans to one black. At least that's what we say out there. And I've never really been in a riot where we actually like lost to the Southsiders I've been in, except for the ones where they attacked me, you know, late night yard or something like that, which I talk about in one of my stories. But for the most part, like they say on my channel, right? I tell like one side, and it seems like the blacks are never victorious, but that's not the case. I just feel like if I tell stories where where the blacks are victorious, then that would mean less subscribers or a different type of subscribers when really that doesn't represent who I am. What represents me is you win some and you lose some, and that's how it is. That's life. You win some and you lose some. But by no means are the blacks punks at all, because what's the thing about the blacks is when it's time, they all come together. When it's time, they all come together because they don't really have a choice. They don't have a choice. So you'll be side by side with a Crip. You'll be side by side with your worst enemy. If you a blood and your worst enemy is a Crip, when it goes down, that Crip gonna be right side by side with you. True indeed.
Okay, so the brothers have been inside putting in work then.
Yeah, look. I remember like I was gonna get into it earlier. We were talking about sports and other races and what happens and why. So in Solano, what caused the riot that lasted for years with the Northerners was a soccer game. Like a soccer game. Like blacks don't even play soccer, but the homies in Sacramento are real. I mean, we play a lot of different sports good. We're real athletic. So we were playing soccer and it got heated, and one of the Mexicans said something to the homie, and the homie knocked him out on the field. And his homies, the Northerners' homies, did what they were supposed to do. And they responded. It was a nice little riot, and that was that. But while that riot was going on, there were blacks in the gym stealing out of the Northerners' lockers, taking their pants and their shoes, their cell phones, taking all of that stuff. So when they came off a lockdown, it was like, you know, we're calling peace. They're acting like it's cool. They're acting like it's a truce. Like, all right, yeah, we'll get off. But when they came off a lockdown, they're seeing all these Africans wearing their clothes. Just think about it. They wearing your clothes that your mama bought you, or the clothes that you hustle hard, or clothes that came in your quarterly package, or stuff you didn't have for years. So just think, and they talking about you got to be cool, and let this dude walk around the yard with your stuff. Nah, Northerners wasn't going for that. So they strategically took flight again. So that went back and forth. Every 90 days they'll come off, get into it again. That went on for a year. And then finally the last one, there was two. The last one is when the homie tried to orchestrate peace and didn't tell me the whole deal. Like part of the deal was we were supposed to remove our homie who had got into it with their homie. That was the deal. But the person that was up above me did not tell me that was part of the deal, because I was in his ear, because I believe that you don't have to be the head of the ship